music tonight because I have some little ones who are sleeping and I don't want to wake them. And believe me, if they heard me playing music, they would be right here in 2 seconds. Maybe I can hold it in a way that's better. Um, but yeah, I can talk about some cool things that I've been learning about. Let me put this aside, it's a little bit easier. I can talk about some cool things. I saw this video and it's one of these AI channels, but the videos are very, very good. Um, it's called Knowledge something. I can't remember. Um, Not very helpful if I can't remember. 1 second. I wonder if it'll let me do this. Nope. It ended the video, of course. But basically, it was saying that everything that you've ever experienced comes from within. So every person that you've ever um, came in contact with, every experience, every feeling, every thought was all generated from within, which means everything is from within. And there's no in without out. There's no light without dark. There's no man without woman. There's no day without light. And the more you realize all of life is this kind of duality. Hello. How you doing? Thank you for joining. This is a different kind of a stream. I'm going to just talk about mind-blowing stuff. But it's pretty cool because it took me a long time to learn all these things. But some of the things, I wish I could remember that YouTube channel. It's like knowledge something. I forget every time. But it's like an AI channel that has these really enlightening talks, and it's so awesome. I love that channel. Even though I normally don't like those kind of channels, that particular one is really good. If I remember the name, or I'll look it up after, and then I can tell you what it is. But it's basically talking about how every single thing that's ever happened to you in your entire life has been generated from the inside out, and that every that's right, it is AI, but it's actually a good one. Normally I don't like those, but this one, the message that they tell is extremely good. And it was talking about how everything that's ever happened to you, every experience, every feeling, every thought, all came from within inside you. Because if you think about it, your brain is what interprets whatever reality is. But there was this thought experiment that they did where they said if you took your brain out of your head and connected it to a computer that could simulate sight and taste and smell and touch, and it was realistic enough, you would never know that it was actually a simulation, because it would appear real to you. And there was this other talk from Elon Musk, who I'm not a big fan of because he's obscenely wealthy, but um, he was giving a talk saying that humans have only been around for verifiably maybe 250,000 years at most. And because of that, they're in the time span of the universe, which is billions of years. That's like a flash of time. That's like a blink of an eye. And if we have been able to create games that are so realistic that it kind of fools you almost, then think about, and that's only in, I mean, think about how long have computers even been around? Computers have only been around for since the 50s, since maybe the 40s, 30s at the most. So what, 100 years in the span of the universe? That's like absolutely nothing. So think about how realistic things are now in just 100 years. Now imagine, having infinite amounts of time, how easily it would be for you to create a simulation so real that you absolutely would have no clue that it's not real. Similar, that's what that movie The Matrix is about. In the movie The Matrix, every human being that's alive is simulating the year 1999 and that time period. So it doesn't matter when you're always born into that time period because that's the simulation of the Matrix. But most of the people in there don't know it because it's so realistic and it's all that they've ever known. Even crazier than that, there was a ancient philosopher named Plato, and Plato had this story called The Allegory of the Cave. And in the story, he talked about these people who were enslaved since their birth. And so what they did was they put them in a cave where they were chained so they could only look straight ahead. And so the only thing that they could see was the shadows dancing on the wall from a fire. Well, since that's all they ever knew, they thought that the shadows were real life. They thought that's what life was. Well, one day, one of the people got out of the chains and went outside. And when he first went outside, the light was so bright and the shapes were so alien to him that he completely just was overwhelmed. But just like with your eyes, after enough time, his eyes began to adjust and he's looking around and realizing, wow, the world is actually 3D and there's so many colors and those shadows are not the real world. They're just being cast by these other things. So he goes back to the cave to tell the other people. Well, what do you think they did? They became enraged and they tried to kill him. Of course. And they thought he was insane because they did not believe him. They thought, no, these shadows are what is real. This is all we've ever known. So obviously this is real. Well, no, it's not real. But to you, to those people, it seems real. And that's the way this life is. This life is all you've ever known. So it feels and seems very real. But if you were to ever be able to see outside of it, you would realize how it isn't real. You zoned out. That's bound to happen sometimes when you start talking about these really deep things. They kind of melt your brain. But I love that though. I've always loved to blow my mind. You know, your mind needs to be blown pretty much once a week, I think. You should blow your mind. There's so many things that can blow your mind. Uh-oh. Better take some medicine. Um, Another thing. That's right. I'm actually a figment of your imagination. I'm being generated from within your mind. All the vision of me, did you know that color does not exist? Color is something that your brain creates. It's only like 1% of the total electromagnetic spectrum, which is what color is made out of. And so, because it's not real, like your brain makes it be real. And see you in a minute. Your brain makes the colors be real, but a brain is good question. A brain is a sound that the brain created to label itself. But what is a brain? A brain by itself is dead, but a brain requires your body. So a brain is kind of your body, but it's also the air because your brain needs air. Well, it also needs the gravity and it also needs the sun. So without all of those things, your brain doesn't exist. Without air pressure, your brain doesn't exist. All those things are a part of your brain, including your body is the same. Part of your body, the line that separates your body from the outside is just an illusion. It's just a label. It's just a sound that you make. But the reality of it, if you zoomed in close enough, it's just different levels of energy because that's what all atoms are. They're just collections of energy, patterns of energy. And so if you zoom in close enough, you notice that There are no lines, and there actually is no material things anywhere, which is crazy because even they've been saying this for thousands of years. But modern scientists have been studying, like physicists have studied atoms and found really crazy things. Have you ever heard of the double slit experiment? In the double slit experiment, they figured out how to fire one electron, only one, and they made sure that it was only one, and they put two openings on a board, and so that it has to go through one or the other. So you would think that, but what would actually happen was it would create a wave pattern on the wall behind it, on the detector, on the wall where it's supposed to only have a two lines. Like it's got to go either through one or the other. So it would do a wave pattern like water. And this was freaking out the scientists. So the thing that they decided to do was to place a detector at the slits so they could see what was happening. Well, do you know what happened every time that they observed the slits? When they put the detector, it collapsed them down into their uh, particle form, and only two lines appeared. And they thought, this is completely crazy. This doesn't even make sense. So they took the detector away and just had a human stand there and watch it with their eyes. Well, that did the same thing. The atoms knew somehow that they were being watched, and because of that, they collapsed down into their particle form. And it's similar to like a game. Have you ever heard of procedural generation? You know those games where whichever direction you're looking is what is generated in the world, but nothing else is actually there because it's saving memory. But when you turn and look a different direction, the things that you're looking at become generated and the things you're not looking at disappear. But see, that's really truly what it's like because you don't know anything exists unless you're experiencing it. That's the only way that you know it exists is your own experience of it. And that is something that is really mind blowing that most people never think about those things. But I have definitely thought about those things a lot. I love, there's a old philosopher and he's so awesome. If you've never watched him, you should definitely go watch him. His name is Alan Watts. He has so many good videos. I used to listen to him every night to go to sleep. That's true. It's like it's difficult sometimes to open your mind that far. It can feel kind of scary for some people. And even for me, when I was younger, it did feel scary because I thought, gosh, am I going insane? But no, I'm not going insane. I'm actually becoming sane. The insanity is to think that you're a separate being, that there's a separate you. But the reality is you're interconnected with all the things that exist. In fact, nothing exists without you. You make everything exist. Your experience makes everything exist. And that's something that's really amazing to realize because you understand that it's actually you that is creating reality. Just like when God says in the Bible that we're made in the image of God, the real meaning of that is because we are the creators of our own universe. We're the creators of our reality. Our biology creates our reality, you know, and so that's what it meant. Like even the story of Adam and Eve, like when they talk about eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, well, they're talking about knowing duality, knowing self and other, knowing light and dark, knowing male and female. And it said they became ashamed of each other's nakedness. That's because they saw each other as separate instead of one. That's what that song of mine is about. We are one. That's what the whole message of that song is. And it's because I came across some tapes when I was really young called Magical Mind, Magical Body. and it's by Deepak Chopra. And I didn't know what they were. My mom was given, they were given to my mom, and she didn't really listen to them. So they looked cool to me. I said, "Can I listen to them?" And I did. And oh my gosh, that was the first epiphany I've ever had that really completely blew my mind, because he was just telling me things that, like, I knew were true. I had never heard them before, but I knew they were true because of it just made too much sense to not be true. You know, they say things ring true, and that is definitely one of them. There are so many things like that. Like, did you know when you look through a telescope and you see a galaxy that they say is millions of light years away? So they claim that the light you're experiencing is from millions of years ago because it took that long to travel and to reach you. But the actual reality is that the experience of the galaxy is being generated instantaneously inside of you, that the vision of it is generated inside of you, because the galaxy doesn't even look like that. There are no such things as colors. Colors are something we create with our brains. So that is something even more mind blowing. Like, you think you're looking at a galaxy, but you're really looking at yourself. You're always looking at yourself. Every time you see, even when you're looking at me right now, my voice is being generated inside of you. The vision of me is being generated inside of you. And that's pretty wild. It feels, because it's a game, it feels like we're separate. It feels like there's a distance between me and you, or you and your phone, or whatever you're watching on. That the feeling of that is also generated inside. All of it is coming from inside. Every thought you've ever had, every person you've ever met, every beautiful scene ever, every single thing ever that you've ever experienced came from inside you, which is a wild experience. You may have, because I am in all places at all times. That's the magic power I have. Well, hey, if everything's me, then everything's you too. And so it's pretty easy to meet me. You see me in all the places. Um, yeah, but I love things like that. I love Alan Watts. I love. There's another. He's a Buddhist monk, and his name is Thich Nhat Hanh. And if you've ever heard him speak, he has one of the most gentle, soft, peaceful voices you've ever heard in your life. Like, he will just pacify your soul just to hear him speak. It doesn't even matter what he talks about. It's just the way that he speaks. You can ask me, go ahead. I'm always open to questions. Go ahead. I don't mind one bit. Um, One of the things he said was, when you're eating a piece of bread, you have to think and be mindful about what bread is, because bread is not just what's in front of you. It's also the wheat. It's also the wind. It's also the rain. It's also the sun and the ground and the worker who picked it and the truck driver who drove it and the grocery person who put it and the baker. It's all of those people, because the bread cannot exist separately from them. All of them are integral parts of what the bread is. Bread Talk. Welcome to Bread Talk, featuring the Woodhead Bob, where we talk about the makings of bread and how it can blow your mind. Bread can blow your mind. It can. Anything actually can. You can see the miracle of life in anything. If you look deep enough into it, you start to realize, especially when you go to it from that mindset about how what you're actually experiencing is coming from inside, and that there is no inside and outside. Because think about it, whatever you think of as outside isn't really outside. Whatever you think of as inside isn't really inside. You're just all one thing. There's actually ancient it's called uh oh Advaita Vedanta, and it's like 5,000 or 6,000 years old, where they always talk about the supreme self, or the absolute, the ultimate. And that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the fact that every single thing is actually one thing. And while you're in this, there was this, it's actually the term Maya means the illusion of separateness, the illusion of the game. That's what that term means. And they talk about how Brahma is their term for God, which is all things, everything, including you and me and everyone. And they say that Brahma is an eternal being, so he lives forever, or he or she or whatever it is, it lives forever and ever and ever. And so it decided that it was going to test out every experience possible. So it started out by doing everything it could ever want to do. It experienced every possible pleasure, every fun, every awesome thing with nothing ever going wrong. And it did that infinity times. But then eventually it wanted to have some more excitement. So it added in some things that were unexpected. And that was fun, but eventually that got old too. So it started adding more and more things. And eventually it decided it wanted to forget that it was everything. It wanted to believe that it was separate, and it wanted to forget that it was that it was actually God. And so it simulated all the versions of life. And at this point, in an infinite universe, which is what they say we're in, it's now simulating you. It's simulating you. You think you're separate. You forgot that you're actually God, because that's what the game is. It's literally a game you're in. It's just like when you're playing a game and you're the character in the game. The character, like, there's games where the game has its own history, it's got its own countries, it's got all the things are built into the game, but it's all the game. But to the character in the game who's programmed to play the game, that character can't question if it's in a game, because it doesn't have that ability. It just is being controlled by the controller, by the god of the game, which is you. And that's what you are. You're like a character in a game that's being controlled by everything. Like, there's nothing separate. There's no separate events. There's no separate experiences. It's all you. That's right. I love to think of it that way, because life imitates itself. Have you ever noticed? Like, why is it that a galaxy is a spiral, but also the water going down the drain is a spiral? And also, a hurricane is a spiral. And also, a tree looks just like arteries, and it looks exactly like a nerve cell. It's because in a simulation, all the things repeat. Like, if you look deep enough into it, you can see that there are so many things that are so perfect and fit together so perfectly that them just popping into existence out of nowhere doesn't make sense. It does not make any sense. It's like when people say that everything just came from the Big Bang. I mean, what does that even mean? That all of the things began as a infinitesimal particle of light. But you know how they say the universe is expanding outwards and it's speeding up? Well, what if it's actually the reverse? What if it's actually going inward and it's speeding up inward, similar to how black holes do, or things like that? They suck you inward. And the more they suck inward, think about how everything you can think of it both ways. And the same thing goes with, like, numbers. Numbers are infinite. You can you can keep zooming out into space forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and getting larger and larger and larger. But you can do the same thing inward. You can zoom inward forever and ever and ever, and you'll never reach the end. There's never an end. And the further in you zoom, the more like energy it becomes and the less like matter. Like the further in you zoom, all you see is electrons and particles, which aren't really things. They're like electrical patterns. And so that's what you're actually made out of. That's what everything is made out of, a continuous electrical pattern. But what even is electricity? It's just another word for energy. It's the same thing. Like I used to think those people that were like, everything's energy, man. I used to think they were just hippies that or like new age people. But now I understand what they meant. And I understand that this is the same thing that physicists say. This is the same thing that scientists say. This is the same thing that all ancient religions say. Even see you later. Even even sorry, I lost my train of thought. This is the same thing that all most major religions and philosophies. There's even a book that was written by Aldous Huxley where he is called The Perennial Philosophy. And he's talking about how all the religions have these similar things in them, and they all are pointing to the same truth. Even in Buddhism, it talks about the finger pointing to the moon. And it says people get caught up arguing over which finger is pointing, but they're not paying attention to where it's pointing to. And the point is, people are arguing over the wrong things. Like each religion can point you in the direction of God. God is not one religion. God is all things, everything, including you. Every thought you've ever had, every experience, every person, all came from within. But there's really no within or without. They're the same thing. If you zoom in enough, it's all just patterns of energy. And energy can never be created nor destroyed. Where do you think all these terms came from? It's just people using sounds to try to describe reality. Because that's all words really are. Hello. Words are just sounds. They're just noises. They don't actually mean anything other than the meaning you ascribe to them. Like if you look outside and you see a tree and you call it a tree, it's not actually a tree in reality. That's just a sound you made. That's just a label you gave it. But that isn't what it is. It's actually the ground. It's actually the sky. It's the sun. It's gravity. It's the wind and the rain. It's all of those things, because if you took away the rain, the tree dies. If you took away the sun, the tree dies. If you took away the dirt, the tree dies. It has to have those things. There's even plants that, like, their reproductive system of the plant is a bee. They cannot live at all. They cannot live or reproduce if a bee, the bee cannot live unless it has that flower. So is the flower not also the bee? And the bee is also the flower. They're literally part of each other. They cannot exist without each other. It's impossible. They call it symbiosis. And everything in life is like that. Just think about your own body. Your body has to have the sun. Your body has to have the air. Your body has to have the ground. You know, you cannot live without those things. You can go up into the International Space Station. It's basically an atmosphere in a can. They have to give you atmospheric pressure. You have to be under a certain amount of pressure from the air or you'll die. If it's too much, you'll die. If it's too hot, you'll die. If it's too cold, you'll die. So you're everything. You and I are everything. There is no you and I. My words are coming from inside your mind. The vision of me is coming from inside your mind. The thoughts you're having right now are coming from inside your mind. Even when you look around your room, you're looking at what's being generated from within. And when you start to think about those things and really let them settle, really let the truth be revealed to you, you'll literally feel it. You can feel the truth of it. You can feel it inside, that it rings true. That's what that means. You don't even have to prove it. You just know. because someone's pulling the veil off your eyes. You've been in a video game and someone's saying, "Hey, did you know you're in a video game?" And you're like, "No, I'm not. I've been here since I was born." And they're like, "What does born mean? Where were you before you were born?" You're like, "Nowhere." Well, if you're an eternal being, you were somewhere. You just weren't playing this game. You were you were an infinite creation. And infinite beings, well, no, not even beings. It's there the there's no plural to it. It's just all one. One, infinite. That's what the singularity means. Even in science, they talk about everything came from the singularity. What does that mean? Everything's one. Everything points to the same truth. All religions, all philosophies, all sciences, they all point to the same truth, that we are one.